Hello folks, well, it's Sunday, done 2 church services and see whether we can do this Amstrad 901, which is a very early version of the made in Japan genuine £89.99 one. We know it's the very early version because the power connector is unobtainable and it's come with the original power plug. So let's put that in contrast to this piece of paper so you can all see what one of the two ones you can't get look like. I think the other one's only found on the fake version. So we do the square round, which you've seen a million times. Can I show you a square round quickly? No, I can't, but you know which one I mean. So this is the one. What happens here if you need to put the square round connector in? We've actually got an adapter plate which is 3D printed by one of my pals, which we can supply. You'd have to screw it in. Alternatively, because the size of the hole is slightly oversized for the square round, you would have to simply hot glue it in position, which I think is a bodge, but you only need to look inside most products made today and they seem to be hot glue done together. So that, check it's got something like the right fuse in it. Yep, 3 amp. So you want somewhere between 2 and 3. Good. Very rare you see that connector. Actually, I won't unscrew it. It says he taking a screw out. And then we'll look at the parameters. Before going inside it. Get it connected to the test equipment. So Cybernet radio, so it's a Cybernet, it's a 002F chassis. So we use a standard Cybernet mic. This would have been the one that came with the Action Man mic, I would think. That was the very early version. But the Action Man mic was troublesome and it soon got swapped. So although they fetch good money on the second-hand market like eBay, the Action Man mics are problematic. It's nice to have one, as long as you're not expecting to use it. So, switch on, power supply on, 13.8 volts, radio on, noisy volume control. And squelch control. It's probably been in a cigarette household. It makes a very, very big difference. Right, put picture in picture on. I say that in case it doesn't appear. So I'll go to the main meter. We'll go to the 3 watt scale. So full scale deflection is 3 watts. And key up. And it's doing about 3 watts. So usual thing, if this radio will do 3.6 watts when we do the tune-up, then that's fine. If it won't, we'll change the ballast resistor for the more hefty type. So we'll go to another channel, channel 40, 2.95 watts, channel 1, 3 watts. Transmit current going back to channel 20. We've got 1.365, which is a lot for that output. And we'll pop this on low power. And low power is 200 milliwatts. That's non-adjustable. It's really noisy. Deviation, wallow. Well, it's reading 4 on there, which is far too high. And we'll be verifying that with the test set behind me in case my Marconi one in front of me is playing up like it can do. Now the test set's only been on 5 minutes. I put it on just before starting this video, so we can't take note of what it has to say on the frequency counter, and that would be needing attention. I'll just put it in brackets here, 2779074. We'll come back to that right at the end and see whether we can pull that up. I'll need to do the VCO. We'll set the signal generator to the 79074, so we're deliberately going off frequency, so we're telling the truth and not setting the signal generator correctly, which would be off frequency. 79074. I'm struggling with this volume control. So plug in the test equipment. Helps if the RF gain's up. .32. I don't try and turn it down, I'll give it a go. 0.27. And 0.95. Squelch. Is 2.3 millivolts, which is far too high, and the threshold .25 microvolts, which is fine. So if we put a 100 microvolt signal on, we should have S9 showing, which we have. Increasing that slightly, let's go over to the attenuator. Increasing that slightly, we should have plus 30 spot on. But it might not be when we've done a retune. On transmit, it's doing 3 watts and it's reading 2 bars. So it doesn't have a meter lamp. We'll just check that PA works. That's going to be iffy with the volume control in the state it is. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Got nothing working with that. Channel 9's working. And Roger Bleep will put my walkie-talkie on. So with the PA, it may just be that the volume control's a bit iffy. Yeah, but Roger Bleep's working. Right, we'll get the lids off. So they're working. That's not at the moment. Internal speakers working. So what we'd like to do is to get another watt out of this radio. That's fine, but we need to check it anyway. And this deviation seems far too high. It doesn't make you louder because it makes you wider. You only sound louder on a set with very poor selectivity, like a Fidelity 1000. You just start chopping. It's trying to get a fat chap through a narrow doorway. It's going to chop the edges off, and you're going to end up with the Norman Collier effect. I know what they do, you know, they don't have any test gear, and they get them out, I'm a louder, yeah, you're louder. It doesn't work like that, because it's making you wider. I haven't got a service sole switch cleaner on here, so I can't do the volume control at this stage. We'll look at the VCO. So before we go to channel 1 for that on these sets, but I've got a memory like a sieve, so we may end up looking at the service manual. It's quite important you do the VCO on these sets, and the Cybernet 134 as well. It's not that they drift, but after 40 years they can also have had screwdriver expert trouble. So 2.37 is a tiny bit low. Or am I supposed to? I'm going to have to get the manual. Yes. Oh no! It should be 2 volts. So it's slightly high. Two spot on for transmit, and 2.37 is very, very slightly high. We'll just drop that. If you don't do this, you can end up with it channels dropping out at the top and bottom, especially in temperature extremes. Around about 3 volts on channel 40, so that's fine. I'll just tick it off, put that away. So let's see whether we can get a little bit more out of the transmitter, or whether we're going to have to take some positive action. This doesn't look messed with at all. It looks a nice genuine set. I can't see any shenanigans. So we want the centre of the... I might be able to use it... Oh, I'm still on low power. What a wally. We want the centre still on low power. Yeah, we'll have to go over to the high power scale. So we're looking for the centre of the peak. It's not just the peak, the centre of the peak. And power soon drops when you're in transmit all the time. So we started off at 3, we've now got 3.1. Whoopie-doo. That's in the correct position. Let's put Mr. Chippy's test clip away. It's going to have to be heated up a bit more. No, 3.1 is the maximum I can get, so I have to change the ballast resistor. I'll just pop the power off on the power supply. So it's 3.3 ohms, we drop it to 3, and I've said a million times before, if you discover it's been eliminated or shorted out, must reinstate it. The set will do about 7 watts, but it won't do it on 27 megs. It'll do If you take this out, the radio will do something like 2 watts on 27 megs and 4 watts on aircraft band at 112 megs because the transmitter takes off. There's no pun intended there between aircraft band and taking off. So it is important. And so somebody with a cheap power meter will see the 112 meg signal and the 27 meg signal combined and go, "Oh, I'm getting 7 watts," but you're not. You're getting 2. So you're ending up making the set transmit worse, but you know, on another band. Right. So we need to change the ballast resistor. We've got various values of these. We don't just use them in these sets. Be sure that the leads are clean. We don't have any Midland type of dry joints, do we? So if we compare like for like, you can see my new one is actually slightly smaller, but it's 6 watt rated. So that's 3 watt that's come out, and it's 6 watt which is going in. It's a UK made part, and they're quite pricey. And for some reason I have to order them about 9 months in advance of getting them. Yet they're made in the UK, how's that? Old fingers and thumbs, I must be playing the organ for 2 services. Probably end up changing 2/3 of these on the sets with I see. So I mean, the difference between 3 and 4 watts isn't huge in range, but you may as well have everything you're entitled to. You know, it's not like 3/4 of the range. It doesn't work like that. Just like a 4 watt record player isn't 25% louder than the 3 watt one. Right, let's see what we've got now. Switch power supply back on, switch the radio back on, and let's see what it says. Oh, it says 4.1 watts. That's kind of it, isn't it? So now we'll just drop that a fraction. There we are at 4 watts. That was worth 97 pence, wasn't it? Hopefully channel 40 and 1 are within 0.1 of a watt. So we're now on channel 40. It's 3.95. And channel 1 is 4.05. It's just slightly over. I'm allowed a measurement error, so we're not going to end up with the powers that be pounding at this gentleman's door, and it will soon drop off as the set warms up anyway. So that's fine. But that wouldn't have been good enough coming off the boat. If a set had tested like this, batch sample tested, when these were new, the batch would have been rejected. That's why they're set low. Right, so we've done the transmitter. Let's sort they're called fairy lights, aren't they? So now when I key up, I want it to read 4 of them, which it reads 5, so we need to just drop that. This is just the meter. There we go, it's 4. When we go to low power, I'd expect it to read 1 light. It does. And let's have a look at what the power is. It's now 220 milliwatts. It's not adjustable on these sets. It should be 400 milliwatts, but there you go. And let's look at the power consumption now. On full power, it was 1.365 amps when I get it out of low power. 1.368. 1.368. So we've gone up a whole watt, yet it's drawing no different current, which just goes to show what the retune's done. So we're not going to touch deviation. I want to look at it with the other test meter. Do need to clean these, but I don't want to leave here. So we'll go through the receiver. So I'm putting 100 microvolts on. I'll just have to put up with the volume control being iffy. Let's go over to the oscilloscope. And we need to make sure that we've got maximum recovered audio on the detector. And we hadn't. So we have now. And then we'll go over to the SINAD meter and we'll start adjusting the radio for maximum sensitivity. Now because the detector was out, it may have been more sensitive. So we may lose sensitivity on the face of things. So we're going to attenuate the signal till we get about 5 dB. Here goes. So far they've been spot on. That hasn't though. Bit more signal for the IF. They've all made a difference, and the one down there hasn't made a difference. So now we'll look for a new SINAD reading. So 12 dB on the meter. We've now got, oh, I'm in the wrong, it said 0.3 on that scale. I changed scales. We're on this scale. So we've now got 0.25, so it has made a difference. These are very sensitive sets. You know, you don't get this on new sets. Especially Cobra 29s at 2.5 microvolts, whatever they are. Oh, doesn't my radio look lovely? Yeah, but it doesn't work lovely. 2.1, 0.21. There's some of the def sets as well on the market. 0.72. That's great. So squelch, that's going to be difficult with the squelch control being dodgy, but let's go for it. So 100 microvolts on the test set. Let's go to the attenuator, and we need to adjust the preset for the correct squelch position. The fake version of these, the squelch is abysmal. That's now too weak. Still too weak. It's a very, very fine adjustment. That's right. That's 100. So now we'll go for threshold. No, I'll say it's 0.3. So it's 0.3 microvolts and 100 microvolts. And then need to do the S meter, which now isn't reading anywhere near. I don't think it was before, was it? So 100 microvolts, but just not quite plus 30, you see? So now when we increase the signal drain so we get plus 30 and reduce it, it goes down correspondingly. So that's now correct. So that's 4. That's now 4. So let's see whether we can put it on frequency Now we've been on however long this video is. Right, so put this on to the signal correction onto the frequency counter. We'll key up and see what we've got now. 277907. Now let's see whether it comes up. I'd hate to have to. I want it to be over 100 to be okay. I'm not expecting it to come all the way up. It really doesn't matter either. So we've got, at the moment, we've got 79111. So when this has been on a bit longer, it'll probably come up right. So it's 277911. So now it isn't off frequency, and it's fine to go out like that. The only thing you can do is to change the reference crystal. And the trouble is, if you take them out of scrap sets, they're all the same age. And if we order them new, they're very pricey. So there we go. I keep buying batches of 10 from AliExpress and none of them ever work. Right. Well, we just need to spray the controls and things. So I'll come back and do that. Okay, so we'll just check the deviation on the... I did press the button for the camera 1 to come on, but you know. Right, to see where we are on deviation with the test set behind me. Wallow, wallow, wallow. Oh, it's beyond the thing. Greater than 7. It's really useful, isn't it? I'm not going to change scales to find out how much greater than. I think that's about 4, which can be up to 15 on these. So we'll just turn the deviation down somewhere like where we'd expect it to be. Wallow. There we go, 2.5 feet. They are daft, aren't they, these people? So it's 2.2 to 2.5 now. Let's go back to this test set. See whether we've done anything with the volume control. I'll just turn the power off and we'll just give it a good wiggle round. Hopefully that'll soak in. Good. Right, and the frequency 2779113. It will still be rising, I promise you. 2779113. Right, in that case we'll put it on the aerial. Oh, we didn't check the PA, did we? Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2 1 2. Fine. So that was the volume playing it, wasn't it? Good. We can unplug that, and connect the case lid back up. So it's Sunday, it's 7:15. And Mr. Chippy is wanting to do the on the air test, which is why we're going through this rapidly. So remember what I said about the power lead? This is the very early version with the not the square round type. Just for speed, we'll put a couple of screws in this. This only came yesterday, and you know we kind of say allow for 28 days. But there you go. Sometimes we can fit things in. Right, see what we can hear. One and a Roger. Ninety and a Roger. Absolutely diddly squat. I presume they're watching Songs of Praise on television at this time. Is that what's on? Not had a telly for 24 years, and then it was black and white. Now, for those of you not in the UK, television licence is what, 160 something pounds for authority to receive television, and a black and white television licence is only £50. So when you're in a poor reception area as I am here, then if you're going to have a television, it seems to me to be the way to do it. And I'm not prepared to have one at all because I don't have a television, so there we go. He's off frequency and he says everything's crackers, but it's probably him. Right, thanks for watching. It's Amstrad CB901, very early version from Japan. The version that cost $89.99.